Bowl season begins at the FBS level with the LA Bowl. The last time we're going to see the LA Bowl, fun fact. Fortunately, we're going to be seeing this bowl game dissolve like we've seen other bowl games. We got Boise State versus Washington. All right. We got, a lot of ties between these two schools. I think if, Jed Fish maybe gets a job that's open right now, maybe Spencer Danielson's a guy that you're calling. I think these are two really good football teams. I think Washington uh, has a lot going for it this year. I think that there were a couple of really solid wins away from making something really special out of this season. Damon Williams, fantastic quarterback. We'll see. Like I don't know if some of these guys are playing in this game. If Jonah Coleman plays, if Denzel Boston plays, if Takario Davis plays with injury and NFL stuff. I don't know like what the situation is with all of those guys. According to Jed Fish, it seems like everyone is going to be expected to play except guys with long-term injuries. So we'll use that. All right. And when I'm talking about this game, I guess I'm assuming that those guys, those NFL level guys, aside maybe Takario Davis, who's been dealing with injury stuff, are probably going to be playing in this game. Is that the assumption you're going under, Christopher?
That's where I'll be at too, right?
Yeah. And then on the Boise State side, like you have some pretty significant opt outs. Cage Casey, your left tackle, going to be going on to the NFL. Ty Benefield, I don't know that he's officially announced that he's foregoing this game. I feel like it's a very known possibility that he doesn't play in this football game. That's a leader on your defense. That's a guy that has really stepped up this season that I would anticipate. I don't know. We'll see what the situation is with him. Both sides are dealing with some injuries in this game. CD, what do you like about this game? And then what do you like in terms of maybe what are you picking? What are some matchups that you're looking for in this game? And where can one team grab an advantage over the other?
Yeah, first of all, I think it's an awesome matchup we got here. Obviously, the spread is above 10, which is what we'll be picking at 10.5. But like nonetheless, I still think it's a really intriguing matchup. You got the Mountain West champions. You got Boise State, a team that was in the college football playoff just a year ago. Still has a lot of talent. Still playing good football this year, especially with the healthy Maddox Madsen. And Washington, a team that, yeah, you talked a little bit of disappointment, like maybe not necessarily where they wanted to finish. I think 8-4 is still a fine season. I mean, that loss, you're going to circle back to Wisconsin and be like, boy, were we pretty close to making that game against Oregon mean a lot in terms of college football playoff implications, et cetera, et cetera. But here's where we're at. And unfortunately, we didn't quite see the step we wanted in terms of elite football being played by Demon Williams. He's still a young kid. He's still figuring it out. You had Jonah Coleman and a lot of things going on there. But here we are with the LA Bowl. That's what we'll be looking at too. Is Washington State and how bought in are they? I expect them to be. I really do. I think they're going to show up and play really good football. I think it's awesome that it's so early in like the season or in bowl season for them that their coaching staff can kind of focus on. They did National Signing Day. Yes, they're doing some portal and player retention stuff, but now they can just really focus on some bowl prep for a couple weeks and then get into the game and figure out everything else in the off season once that comes. Obviously, Fish, it was linked to a couple different jobs and is still being linked to some jobs open right now in the market. But as we sit right now, he's still the head coach at Washington, and I kind of expect that to continue unless some other jobs open up with some recoil effect here. But yeah, I like Washington in this spot here, minus 10.5. I think they're going to. I think we've seen Boise State against some like high level athletes, and I don't put Washington in any kind of category that Notre Dame is, but in terms of like even USF, right when Byron Brown was going there, I think you got Williams and Coleman can make that kind of impact, and of course, like Denzel Boston is one of the best in the country, if not damn near right up there. And what he can do this Boise team, which is talented and which is good, and did a really good job of stopping a really good UNLV team in that Mountain West championship, especially, excuse me, especially when they needed to. But yeah, I like Washington here.
When I think I'm going to be against you. I think I'm going to take Boise State plus 10.5 here. Not as a best bet or anything. I just I've been really liking the way that Boise State plays football when Maddox Madsen is at the helm and when he's not turning the ball over. Like, this is a pretty scary team. I think we looked at the course of the season and you can point to, the run game and be like, okay, there were some inconsistencies here. Like, we thought that Sire Gaines and we thought that Dylan Riley were going to be like really elite. And I think you could point to Cage Casey being out in this game and that being a significant impact. And I think you're right. I think just 10.5 points is a lot. This line opened up at 7.5, 8.5, whatever it was, got bet up to this number, and I just think it's a little bit too much. And I think Boise State's defense, I think, is a little bit underrated. When you look at some of the metrics and you just look at a blank slate, you could be like, all right, this Boise State run defense is bad, and Washington can take advantage of it. And I will absolutely say, whether or not Jonah Coleman plays in this game, Adam Muhammad is a rising star in the Big Ten. He is a phenomenal running back, and he is the guy that we're going to be talking about quite a bit next year. All right, quite a bit. And I think that Washington's going to try to run the football well, and Damon Williams will be a part of that run game as well, and he's been really effective on the ground with his legs. But I just think this Boise State run defense is a little bit better than people are giving credit for. I'm not saying it's a great run defense. I'm saying that, the games against Notre Dame, Utah State, I'm not like games like that didn't happen every single week. The UNLV, you look at like Spencer Danielson's ability to game plan against UNLV, both games this year, by the way, when you had a running back over on the other sideline that was averaging 7 yards a carry. I know Jaden Thomas was banged up in that first game, but you had a running back on the other sideline that will averaging 7 yards a carry in a ferocious offensive team on the ground led by head coach Dan Mullins, who's been in the game for a long time. And Spencer Danielson, as a game planning this defense, he did a wonderful job doing that. And I think he could show up in this spot here. And I think it's a challenge with this offense. But you can see like Washington got off to slow starts a lot of the time. A lot of the time, Washington got off to some serious slow starts, especially in Big Ten play, like we saw, and it ended up biting them against Wisconsin, where they weren't able to rally. It almost bit them against Maryland. It almost bit them in some other spots as well. And if they don't get off to a good start and they get down to this Boise State team, which has pretty good athletic players at wide receiver, let's not forget that. They have guys that can be really explosive. If Boise State gets up early and Washington sort of abandons that run game for whatever reason, I'm not sure that they will, right? They still ran the ball quite a bit against Oregon. Adam Muhammad is a stud. Jonah Coleman's a stud. Damon Williams is great on the ground. I'm not sure that I love Washington here to cover that 10.5. But I will say, I will throw a best bet on this game. All right. My best bet for this game, give me the under, 53.5 for this one. I think Boise State's defense is a little bit better, and it has gotten a little bit better week to week. I think Spencer Danielson's a great coach, like we talked about. That's a lot of points. That's a lot of points in this one for two teams that I think are going to be trying to run the football. So give me under 53.5 in this one. I think if for some reason this got the blowout territory, I think that's definitely a way that this game goes over. You have some explosive plays. I think that's a way that this goes over as well. If Maddox Madsen does that thing where he turns the ball over, 4 times in a game, which he's done every now and then, yeah, okay, that over is probably chalked, but or the under is probably chalked. I like the under 53.5 in this one.
Yeah, you brought up the wide receiver core that Boise State has. It was nice to see Chris Marshall get back. Obviously, he wasn't as productive as he's still coming back from injury, but he's probably going to be the healthiest he has been in months, right? He was out for a couple, almost 2 months there. Good to see him back. And of course, you got Penry and Bates and some other guys that are cables. If Maddox is playing well, I think that's a big thing because he might have to because, yes, I love Dylan Riley, Sire Gaines. Those guys are really good and they run the ball well. But this Washington defense, I think, is really good defensively in that front seven. I think they don't get as much credit as they probably should. Top 25 team defensively, like metric-wise, opponent adjusted. But even statistically against the run, they're top 20 team, like 17th or something like that against the run. They just played really good against an Oregon team defensively. That runs the ball fantastically. Like that Oregon rushing attack gashed everybody they played all year long. And this Washington Washington team was the only one to effectively stop. And I understand that's a rivalry game. I understand that Oregon was on the road and all those things matter and contribute to that fact. But the reality states like if more is being put on the shoulders of Maddox Madsen, that's not where you want to be if you're Boise State to keep this game, especially early on. Try to establish some kind of run. You start to play catch up against a team that's historically, you talked about them this year, was not good at getting off the fast starts in Washington. But if you're Boise State and you can't run the football, that's where you might not be able to take advantage of, potentially a slow start from Washington.
Yeah, and also too a bump on that defense. I mean, Jacob Manu been recovering from a knee injury. I believe it was a knee injury from a season ago, and he had this kind of weird situation where he wasn't playing, but for some reason, Jed Fish made a promise that he would play in the UCLA game, and then they sat him against Oregon because they wanted to preserve his red shirt, I believe. But like he's good to go in this game, So another couple weeks to recover. Uh, he's going to be amped up. He's a guy that's been with Jed Fish since Arizona, so I'm very interested to see like if he's going to add a significant bump. He was definitely a big part of that comeback against Maryland earlier in the season, so just like another layer, I guess, to add to this lasagna of a game that we love, the Chris Peterson Bowl. Come on. Hello, Matthew here with the Redshirt Sophomore. I'm here to invite you to our 2025-2026 Redshirt Sophomore Bowl Pool. That's right. Every year we're going to be hosting a bowl pool. We got it here on the ESPN app. So you got to do two things. All right. In order to qualify, you got to subscribe to the channel. So obviously hit that subscribe button. We'll know. All right. And then you got to go down into the description of this video to find that link in which you can sign up for. And then, of course, from there, that'll qualify you to win a mug such as this and also $20 cash prize. So it's free to play. We're hoping to make this super competitive with everyone. You guys are going to have to beat me and CD, of course. But yeah, it's going to be a standard pick 'em with confidence levels as well. So make sure you apply the points to teams that you're most confident in. Higher points is teams that you are most confident in. And we're going to have a lot of fun with this, guys. So make sure you guys are dialed in for this one.